Spin. All right, everyone, welcome in and welcome back. Betsperts Golf here for our first look at the 2025 Sentry, artist formerly known as the Tournament of Champions, here to take a first look at the rabbit hole and all the things that matter, all the things that have changed and been added to the rabbit hole as we jump into the first event of the season. Joined here, as always, by my man Ron Kloss, PGA Splits 101 on Twitter. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah, excited to be back. I know it's still football season, and it's been a great year for football so far. But golf is back, and just seeing these photos, these videos of Hawaii on the screen here, it just warms my soul. And so, yeah, I love this tournament every year. It's a great course. It's a very unique course, and yeah, like you said, the rabbit hole continues to grow. So excited to talk about that a little bit here too.
Yeah, excited to continue into that. As you said, there's some stuff, Andy and I shift a little bit into more football here in the fall. There are no days off in the golf side for Ron. He has been grinding nonstop to make sure that the rabbit hole continues to be the premier customizable PGA Tour database, and anything that you could possibly ever have dreamt of that you would have wanted to have in there from a data split scenario. It's in there. We're working on it and just making sure that it is the most comprehensive one-stop shop for you to come and get all of your PGA Tour data, building player pools, betting cards for, player pools for DFS, all that stuff. Rabbit hole is where you need to be. We are very, very excited about where it is and where it continues to go. So we're going to share some of the new stuff with you today and take a first look at this interesting, field, Ron, now that we have some of the news that we've had over the last handful of days. Scotty Scheffler not in this field, which I think obviously changes the calculus of the betting markets in a pretty drastic way. Changes the way people will build DFS lineups because it's basically Scotty events and non-Scotty events, and this is now a non-Scotty event. He somehow, in the most Scotty Scheffler injury way possible, probably while holding the baby, doing some dishes, pouring some vino for Mare in the kitchen, finds a way to break a glass and require surgery in his hands. It's going to keep him out for a little bit. So we do have a little bit of open season without Scotty for a handful of events moving forward beyond the Sentry, which is really exciting. Vic breaks a toe. Vic seems to be in the field still. I don't know if that's, the Norwegian in him. He just, rub some dirt on it and get in there and get it done. But any thoughts on Scotty or anything in the off season? It's been a busy off season in the news.
Yeah, you got, last year was the first year this field jumped up to, I think, we had over 60 players last year. And so we're right at 60 this year. And of course, Rory likes to always start in Dubai. So he's going to do what he does every year. It would be awesome to get him to play this tournament again. And then, Tommy Fleetwood, Shane Lowry, the only other two who are eligible to play, who are also skipping out on that. I think those Europeans just kind of like to start. They have their habits, their routines, and they like to stick to them. So, but yeah, no, it's definitely been an interesting offseason. I know we keep hearing rumors, deals coming soon, something's happening, and we're still where we were, the same spot last year. So, I don't even hold my breath at anything anymore. Obviously, even a field like this, even though it's, this is a signature event, you kind of get down this board, though, you can wow, these are the best players. And so I'm not to take anything away from, some of these guys who, won tournaments, because that's how it's always been. But, you do still see some of these guys that you just, from the live through, that you miss and you wish were back. And I mean, if we had those guys playing here this week, it would be 10 times better. So hopefully one day. Yep.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you look at the field strength at the top is strong based off of the tournament. It is one of the signature events on tour, which is weird. We jump right into it, but it is a spot where Chris Kirk won last year, right? So it's a spot where because of the nature of the events and what's required here, does kind of bring a lot of different players into the fray, right? We always think really difficult golf courses, which is where you're going to separate the cream, from the rest of the field, and then when the birdies are the ask, and you have to basically get to upper 20s. We've had this one in the low 30s. That brings all these guys are really good, right? So, making birdies in bunches kind of brings some of the other guys into the field or into the fray. So, I want to remind folks again, nonstop. We are continuing to go ahead and add new things to the rabbit hole. I want to share some of that with you here today. And again, if you're seeing this for the first time, welcome. We appreciate that. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Betsperts Golf. Everything that we do from a audio-visual standpoint is going to be here on the YouTube channel. You can also find the Betsperts Golf podcast, where we listen to podcasts as well. Let's go ahead and take advantage of that. We'll have the betting show on Tuesdays, along with this the First Look show here on Mondays. DFS is going to be shifting internal because the nature of DFS is such a short window. So that like late Wednesday podcast with Byron and Ron, just really hard to turn that around and have it be timely and have it be useful for you. So we're going to shift that all internal for subscribers in the Discord. You're going to get some one-on-one time with Ron, walk through all of Ron's submodels, all those things, asking questions. We find that I think is going to be way more valuable to you as a subscriber than just a free podcast that's shared. So go ahead and you can check that out in the Discord there every Wednesday. Ron will have more information, based on his schedule for the week. So, but again, want to just help you navigate some of the stuff here on the site. If you've been away, you can see Ron's Sentry Plantation course at Kapalua preview already up on the site. If you want to click into the rabbit hole, you can go ahead and do that here at the top. You can see some new additions in the tools section as well, along with the tutorial section, which is brand new. Ron's knocked out a bunch of tutorials to walk you through how to execute the rabbit hole. Super helpful. Highly, highly recommend that. This can be a little bit overwhelming for people. It's a lot of data when you click the rabbit hole and you open it up and you click through the filters and you click through the views. So understanding how to use it in a more seamless way to tell a better story, to get the end result that you're looking for, going through, taking the time, using the tutorials, you're going to be able to do that. So highly recommend people do that. That's also why we do the content this way too. That's why we do the First Look show using the rabbit hole. That's why we do the betting show using the rabbit hole, so we can show you a little bit of how we do it, how we use it. So hopefully it makes it a little bit more seamless and easy for you. Yeah, I'm really, really excited to share some of these upgrades with you. So going to click into the rabbit hole here for you. Going to all look the same, but there are new things that we want to show you here in lots of different sections. You go into the view section. We have added a new drop down here, a couple new drop downs. But last year we had the approach proximities basically bucketed out into fairway and rough. Again, something you cannot find anywhere else. Very unique, and I think a more appropriate story. Now we also have the addition of the overall approach proximity. So you just want to see, regardless of what's going on here, you want to see how someone's doing from 150 plus. Oh, lost it. I'm asking my computer to do too much. You want to see how someone's doing from that range, regardless of if it's fairway or rough. You can do that as well. So that's a new addition on the screen for you as well. Also here in the view section, you can see we have finishing positions. Which is awesome to be able to have this in a searchable feature, something that you can use and you can model, which is really, really, really cool. And again, you can use all of the displays at the top, all the filtering, all the customization that you want here too. You can add that in there as well, which is just fantastic. Absolutely love this. I think it's a really good, useful way for you to take a look at. And again, this is based by rank. You can look at average, you can look at total, you can mess around with different ways to take a look at that as well. Anything you want to talk about?
Yeah. So with this one, I was going to let's just show an example for this week. So if you go to, so let's go to last 3 years. But yeah, this thing is an amazing tool. If you bet finishing positions, if you even for DFS, because it'll take you through and show you got upside. It'll show you players who are consistent. And then let's go to the filter and go to the easy scoring. And I'll go very easy, and average to kind of take away all the difficult courses. Since obviously this week we have pretty much the easiest course on tour. All right, yeah, and so if you look at this, so for example, we got average finishing position. So if you want to see how players, and you can see pretty good sample size. So this is not obviously by rounds. This is by PGA Tour starts. So plenty of sample here, and you can go by finish position. You can see who have won the most on these courses. Any of those top 5, top 10, top 20s, you can see who has the best and the worst finishing rates. And again, this is you have the power of the entire rabbit hole behind this. So basically you can use any of those filters that we have, and it's just an amazing tool. Made cut percentage, if you play DFS, obviously there's no cut this week. But if you are looking for something just to see who makes cuts, who misses cuts on these types of courses, and again, you can do this for anything. You can go Bermuda greens, you can go whatever you want to look at, field strength, and you can kind of break it down one by one here. And it's, like I said, there's nothing else like this anywhere. And so, really proud of all the work that went into this. And I think as people start to use this, especially if you're betting, on finishing positions, it's such a good tool.
Yeah, it's like the rabbit hole in a nutshell, right? Where you can look at, you can find basic strokes gains on the PGA Tour. You can find on the website. You can find it in a number of places. But the ability to filter and customize based off of what the ask is that week for the course is, I think, why it continues to be a separator. So you can find finishing position rates in a number of places. Not 30s and 40s as much, and that's here as well. But you definitely cannot filter by different conditions, like looking at, like we have here, easy, very easy, and average scoring conditions, right? And then you get to, the majors. Well, first of all, you can just filter by majors, or you can just look at difficult scoring conditions and do the same thing when we're on, difficult tracks. So the ability to just look at West Coast golf or, any of the filters or customizational things that you can do here, coastal courses, which is relevant this week, all those different things. Unique here to the rabbit hole. So I think this is, again, we want this to be able to tell the best story, to be able to help you find your player pools. And this is another great addition. I'm really excited about this one. Also, recent form, I think, is relevant in a short one-page window look and see how people are doing as of late. You can go actually right here on the rabbit hole. You can see here there's a recent form tab. It's going to redirect you to a new tab and walk you through. You can get a sense here right now. It's defaulting just, what they've done over the last 6 months. But you can see here any of the last tournaments, how they played. And obviously, fall season, a lot of the top guys have not been playing as of late. But when we get into, March, April, these guys have been teeing it off all spring. It's going to be really relevant to get a sense of who's been playing what. So if you scroll over, you can continue to see here all their recent form in finishing positions here, which I think, again, another useful tool to help just kind of drive home confirmation bias on a guy or way to cross a guy off your list. Any of these things I think are super useful on the recent form page. Ron, anything to add on the recent form?
No, this is pretty self-explanatory. So yeah, just it goes back the last 8 events, and just a little quick way to check. And if you go up, and we can do this one now too, if you go up to tools, and if you click on the tournament cheat sheet, so this is going to be kind of a more expanded version. This is so it has the whole field. So you have all the important metrics. You have your strokes gain, driving distance, driving accuracy, and as you go across here, you have metrics, and then you have a recent form section. So you have form here as well. And then as you keep going across, we also have course history. So kind of everything you need in one spot here. And if you notice above here, you can actually change the time frame. If you want to go just like the last, really short, really long, if you wanted to go by rounds, you can expand this and kind of just get a quick view, however you want to do your search.
Awesome. All in one spot to be able to get the recent form and course history all here, along with some strokes gain data. Just super clutch. Very, very, very useful. Again, another spot where you can, pretty easily start to, narrow down your player pool, maybe even before you start to do some rabbit hole research. And then you get a little bit of confirmation bias in there, and it gets a little bit easier. Again, ways to rule guys out. And ways to target in and hone in some guys and to dig a little bit deeper on them as well, which is just absolutely fantastic stuff. Also expanded player pages as well, which again, I think are the best in the business. These things are fantastic. I'm clicking on my boy Russell Henley here, show you an example of some of the things that have been added and continue to be added to the player pages here. I mean, if you happen to want to know what he studied in college, you can find that here as well. But see here, basic stuff. Last 12 months here at the top. This is telling you where they are in the key strokes game metrics. But then you can get back down here, and there are some charts, again, that you can manipulate based off of rounds and time frame, as always.
Yeah, put it on like maybe put it on 2 years. So like, for example, so he's only put it on Bermuda greens in the last 6 months. So you expand this out a little bit. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah. Gives you a little bit more sample, obviously. Splits by putting surface, AM, PM splits. I think maybe a little noisy, but not super irrelevant if you're looking at like showdown building based off of tee times.
And
here's
the beauty with this. So if you go back to that AM one and just hover the mouse over the this gives you, if you're wondering, okay, well, how much sample size is here? So it will give you his exact average. So you can clearly see he's a better player in the AM. And it gives you, that's a pretty good amount of sample size. So, as you go up with some of these, as we all know with golf, the more you have, the more firm it is. And so that's something that, I think is useful, especially if you play showdown. If a guy has an early morning tee time and he performed, a half a stroke better, I think that's something you can actually use. So yeah, and then you see the one right next to it here, average strokes gained by round. For some reason, there are players who are better first-round players. I know Russell Henley used to be an awesome first-round player, and you can kind of see lately, he's turned into a really good player on the weekend. So, I mean, there's just so much you can get into here for DFS showdown, just little things like that. And then, yeah, you see all the ones we have here with scoring conditions, field strength. So these bottom three, these are the new ones. So these came out over the last couple months, and the overall approach proximity, I absolutely love this one because we have it color coded. Now, these are not just random, just a generic color coding. Each of these ranges is actually based on the PGA Tour averages for that range. So you can kind of see over the last 2 years, he's been a much better kind of wedge player, mid-iron player. So love this one. And again, you can hover over and see the exact, number of rounds. And then we have the floor ceiling filter on the player level, right next to it. And then the last one is we added strokes gained event by season. So really love these three. So get even a deeper snapshot into each player.
This is great. I picked Russell Henley for a reason. I love betting Russell Henley. This tells me that I just need to temper expectations till we get to Florida. Just maybe make sure I'll go back to the well on, stuffing Henley on my card whenever appropriate. But I need to do so once we get through, once we get down into March, right, or late February. So again, these are all very, very useful one-stop shop tools to be able to look at. Again, you can just go up here and search for any player in the bar here, click on their name in the rabbit hole, all those different things. It's going to redirect you down here too. Beyond that, these are some of the things that have remained. Again, you want to see rolling averages and the strokes gain metrics, some more details in their finishing position summary. Again, just a great snapshot of, how a player has improved. You can see here, jump up for Henley last year into, higher performing finishes near the top, maintaining his really strong top 30, top 40 rate. And you can see the miscut rate jumped, right? So typically a guy, missing the cut, 20, 25% of the time, missed one cut last year, right? You could see one snap improvements by looking at this finishing position summary, which is great. If you want to get granular, see tournament specific, you can get all that here and see what they did in that tournament and be able to give you more information. Again, this goes way, 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 way back to it's just really, really excited about all the things that this has for you. Again, just the ability to just open up Betsperts Golf in the rabbit hole. It's all you need, right? You don't have to go to this site for this site for that. Oh, I really, I use you guys, but I really like this site that has this. I don't know what that is anymore. I'm not sure what it is, or if it still exists. I promise you we're going to make it go away here very, very soon. So the ability to get everything in one spot I think is super clutch. That reminds me, before we wrap here and get into the Sentry, and we appreciate you allowing us to take some time to show you what's new. The rebet deal goes away. It goes away tomorrow. Today is the 30th. This is a 2024 deal. This deal expires on the 31st. That calendar switches, the ball drops, you're clinking glasses, kissing your significant other. Rebet's gone. Take advantage of this deal right now. Download Rebet. It is a legal sportsbook sweepstakes app. These sweepstakes apps are kind of the new wave. I don't know what to tell you other than it's a sportsbook that has a prop builder feature. You like to bet NFL and you need more outs, or you need more outs to get your golf outrights down. Rebet. Download Rebet. Use promo code BSG. Betsperts Golf. Promo code BSG. Buy $10 of Rebet cash, which is a 1-for-1 exchange for USD. That's how the sweepstakes models work. No additional money. You use that promo code within 48 hours, you're going to get an email and get access to Betsperts Golf. No additional charge. You will get a full year of Betsperts Golf for $10 on Rebet. That's it. It goes away very, very soon. If you're watching this on Monday morning, you got until Tuesday night to get it done. That expires. That is our only deal right now. Otherwise, you're $250 for a year. You can get it for $10. There's no loophole. It's a full calendar year. It's not through the season, so you would buy now. You would have it through December of 2025. Get access to all this. Ron submodels. Access to Ron for DFS talk. Into our Discord. Great community to chat golf with. All the betting picks. Again, you can see there are other tools in the tool section that you can click in here. Everything at Betsperts Golf for $10 a rebet. Questions, reach out directly. You can see our Twitter handles are here on the YouTube stream if you're watching, at PGA Splits 101, at Ryan Newton on Twitter, and we will help you out because we want you to take advantage and get you in for the cheapest that you'll ever be able to do so. So, all right, buddy, let's talk tour. Let's talk events. Again, no Scotty for the Sentry. What should we do first? We got some coastal courses. Should we take a look at how we're doing there?
Yeah, so obviously we kind of went over this, when we did this last year. I think it's always good to take kind of a general view first. And so, I think coastal courses. We also have, when you look at that course type section, we have resort courses as well. But I think with this, and you'll see a lot of overlap between those two. And again, obviously, with this being a birdie fest putting contest, the easiest course on tour, whatever you want to call it, you could go with either of those. But I think coastal. Because that's going to take into account, some of the wind that we may see, as we always see here in Hawaii this week.
Yep. All right, we'll do this. We'll start with coastal. I'm going to back up my time frame because obviously most of these guys have not been playing coastal courses for the last 6 months. Let's jump back out to see. Again, this is where you can manipulate the time frame to see you get yourself a sample size that makes sense. Otherwise, doing this, getting really, really small samples can be pretty noisy. And then you get guys that play in the alt field events, that are going to, say Puerto Rico or Mexico, whereas, some of the top dogs aren't doing that. That's going to muddy the waters a little bit. All right. So we'll look here. Coastal courses, last 3 years, pretty good sample size for most of these guys here. The top, you see Xander, Cantley, Morikawa, your top three. You can see some other interesting names here that are kind of filling it out, but everyone pretty much has a decent sample size, which is cool to see. So we'll start here. All you need to do to add something to your rabbit hole model is click this little plus button. You can make a note in the description if you would like. I always like to, especially for the streams. I think it makes more sense when we get into the weighing section to see how much we're going to give credence to any of these stats. Having the description matters quite a bit. I'll hit add. Though I don't think I cleared my stuff, so I'm going to have a bunch of stuff in here. So we started with coastal, and we'll start from there. You can hit reset, clear that out. You can see you also have the minimum round feature here too. When you get into some small sample size, you get some of these, late in the season, middle of the season, you get some guys that have, not been on tour, that have maybe a couple events. You can put a minimum round feature so you're not having them distort your sample of data. We can go back, and again, I think looking at a situation where the test is easy and from a scoring condition standpoint. So we'll go back into filter by conditions. We'll look here again at very easy, and average scoring conditions. I'll back out again to a larger sample over the last, say, 2 years, see what that sample size is, because that's what matters here, right? So I don't want to be looking at the last 2 years and be pulling in, the Open Championship or, looking at Muirfield Village. I just don't really want that in my data set because I don't think it's super relevant to what we're asking this week, which is, again, another reason why this stuff matters. So we're getting a pretty huge sample here, but I think it's a good one. Xander, Colin, again. Go ahead.
Yeah, just really quick. So if you look, we have it on rank right now, and I always tell people this, and if you go to average, if you want to see, well, how big of a lead does Xander have, in that first spot, and because that is one of the issues with ranking players is you don't, kind of account for the gap between players. And so, if you ever wanted to see that, you can always click on, these are the raw averages. And you can kind of see, obviously, with Scotty, it's really a Scotty thing because he is so leaps and bounds ahead of everyone. And, it's just kind of jaw dropping sometimes to see the gap, between first and second. And you can obviously see, it's they're much smaller up top. So I think the rank system, when you use it, it's probably always better. I encourage people to use the average as well.
Yeah, no, it's a good call out too. When you can download this to the CSV, which is, again, awesome, especially in the end. As you shouted out, you can get that first column is basically the ability to see the gap in the final output based off of, how big of a lead someone has basically ahead of everyone else versus just saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can very easily see a pretty sizable gap. Total wouldn't be super relevant here unless you were, having the range be, rounds be neutral across the board. I also love percentage of round gains because I think that's a little bit more consistency, especially if you're like betting finishing position bets or you're looking at, say DFS floor cash game type stuff. You want to get a sense of, someone's floor versus, their ceiling. Obviously, if you're playing DFS tournaments, you want more ceiling outcomes and you want to get a sense of that too. I think that's another great way to do it. But yeah, good call. Averages here too. So last 2 years, again, still remains Xander, Colin at the top. And you could see here that Eric Cole JT's third, Eric Cole fifth in there, Bobby Mack in there as well, smaller sample, but 55 rounds, not nothing, an easier scoring condition. So we'll go here, strokes gained total, easy scoring, last 2 years. Again, you don't have to do anything here. It's just personally for me, it makes it way easier at the end, especially if you start to build bigger models, building a lot of different iterations of stats, sub models of stats, having that all broken down, I think matters a lot. It is easy in terms of scoring the conditions or in terms of the field is stronger, right? We have, a signature event based off what we have on the PGA Tour nowadays, even though the bottom is maybe a little bit weaker than we want, as Ron touched on the top. If we could have these live guys here, that'd be fantastic. But overall, it's a strong, very strong field. So I think we can take a look at that too. Should we include average? What do you think? Just rule out the easy stuff?
Yeah, I think, that there's two ways to look at that. So yeah, I think this week is fine doing that. Like you said, if you compare this field to 5 years ago, you'd probably, I think it's definitely weaker. So I think you're fine at throwing average in there for sure.
Just to get a sense of sample wise, 6 months will bounce back to a year. I think that's going to give us, 50, 60 rounds for most of these guys. Last 12 months, even bigger. Perfect. Strokes gained total. Last 12 months in very strong and average fields. Xander Schauffele, Hideki Matsuyama, Colin Morikawa are your top three. The other names you would probably expect in this field are kind of populating the rest of the top 10. Again, I like to look at the bottom of these things too to get a sense of, who's really struggled in these scenarios. Because then I also feel like, I can cross guys off. I mean, sometimes parsing through some of the stuff, it's just as important to rule guys out. You can see Patton Kizzire, nice finish towards the tail end of the season, and then, played well in the fall, got himself in here. You can see his sample of strong fields over the last year, not so large and not so good. So, and that makes sense here too.
And when you're finished with this one, I was just going to say really quick, just to show you the power of the rabbit hole. is you can combine these things together. So, I think for this one, we would not use average for both. So we would use easy and very easy scoring conditions, and then we would go strong and very strong fields. So
Yep.
if you wanted to just kind of combine those together, and I would probably expand the sample size to maybe even three to 5 years, just to get maybe a little broader picture. So you're basically saying, so who plays well in birdie fests that have strong fields? And there's not going to be many of them on the PGA Tour that are like, obviously, here at the Sentry this week. So you probably have to expand a little wider, but just to see, if you really wanted to narrow this down even more and get really specific, there's nowhere else you can do anything like this at. And again, you see, sample size isn't huge, but if you wanted to do this, and I do like to get these views as well,
Sure.
just to try to get it as specific as possible, just another option you have.
Yep. Sample is so small and you back out so long, it gets a little trickier, but I think there'll be some other instances where doing this is more relevant. Again, this is like a major filter, right? Do the opposite, where your scoring conditions can be difficult, very difficult, and your field is strong, very strong. I think you're going to get a few more random PGA Tour events, along with, for the most part, most of the majors, and I think you start to get yourself into a bigger, more relevant sample size that's not going back.
And we have
quite
the minimum rounds feature too. I can't remember if you showed that today or not yet, where you can
I mentioned it real quick.
Okay, yeah. So you can get rid of the sample size issue here too if it was too small as well. So
yeah, absolutely. Again, the ability to even look at it is awesome, right? So just looking at general strokes gained, who's been playing great, and you're like, oh well, Max Graysoman's been awesome, but like he's been playing in events with none of these guys for the last 3 months, right? So it doesn't mean he's not good. Might not mean he's not ascending on tour, but in terms of who he's been playing against, kind of a different beast.
And just really quick, click on for Cantley there, click on this blue round number. So if you wanted to see actually let me see, I want to see what actual tournaments this is including. You can click on that and it will show you every single tournament round he's played in that comes under these filters.
Yep. So for him and probably most of these guys at the very top, the only relevant thing in the last calendar year is the Sentry. You jump out to a couple rounds of the Scottish, previous Sentry. It's pretty much it. BMW, was that Caves Valleys, I think maybe, who are going back this year, unfortunately. Sentry again, Zozo. So yeah, I mean, this is again another great feature. You want to see the rounds that it's counting in that sample size, click on the number, and you can get them, which is just sick. So yeah, any of these here, it's blue lit up, you can go ahead and jump into it. So pretty sweet. All right, I'm going to reset that, jump back in. It's a beautiful golf course. I think they did a great job, obviously, using the natural terrain, but it is sprawling and wide off the tee. This is no penalty from just gripping and ripping, taking the club head off. And you almost need to really to contend, right? Because we have par 73. You really need to be able to poke it out there on these big fairways. So we consider this driver heavy.
Yeah. So, and this is the thing with this course. So I have gotten to the point where I have a very small weight for off the tee for this course. And, if you look, 27 of the 30 longest drives on tour last year were hit here at the Sentry. So you have sloping fairways. You have some of these holes are just playing downwind. And so, even though it is a driver heavy course, like you said, you can blast away with driver. There's very few hazards on this course. If you look at some of the winners here, Chris Kirk, Harris English, Jordan Spieth, Patrick Reed, even going back a little ways, you have Zach Johnson, you have Steve Stricker. Jonathan Bird is one of the lightest hitters on tour. So, what that tells me is everyone's going to be ripping it off the tee. Everyone's going to be getting a little bit of extra roll. And so those guys that I just listed, what do they all have in common? They're excellent putters. And so, like I said a little bit earlier, this is basically it's become the putting contest of all putting contests. And so, even if you look at this kind of blew my mind. I knew it was low, but the last 3 years, this course has played an absurd 4.5 strokes under par per round. So the average score is 4.5 strokes under round the last 3 years. And so, yeah, so for me, off the tee is very minimal this week. I will do what you're doing now, and I'll look at driver heavy, and just take a very, very small weight off the tee using looking at driver heavy courses.
Okay. Love that. And again, part of it probably gets lost because it is a par 73, so it doesn't maybe jump off the page in terms of average scoring, but because we're adding an extra stroke. I love too. There's maybe not a great use case this week, but there definitely are all over the tour. Being able to capture this stuff, the missed fairway penalty, understanding the combination of relevant off the tee club selection and rough penalty and missed fairway penalty. That stuff matters. That is giving you way better data than your competition. Someone who is not using this, that stuff matters a ton, and the ability to parse through that data and understand it, I think, is really, really important. So,
and really quick,
driver heavy here.
Just scroll up really quick. And we're not even gonna have time to get into these, but keep going higher. So for this course, if you wanted to get into this no cut, so event type, you could look at, okay, how do guys play in no cut events? The Aloha season, which obviously is this week, and the Sony next week. If you want to see how do players perform, just to get a broad view of Hawaii. We have a small field, so you could click on small field. How do certain players play in small fields? I mean, it's just the options are endless. So, yep, I could talk about it all day.
Yeah, endless and great. Getting play around with different things, sample size. I'd be careful with overfitting. Continue to want to preach that to people too, where you start to add too many things. You're like, oh, okay. Ron's preview says that, all right, this is easy, very easy scoring conditions. It's a long course. It's a strong field. Aloha season, small field. You go and run your query, and there's nothing. It's because you can't jam all of them at once, right? All you're basically doing is looking at the history at the Sentry. Start to pick and choose where you're trying to get corollary courses that overlap with what you're looking for this week, or sample sizes that match what's asked this week over a longer period of time. That matters a lot. So be very, very careful of selecting more than say 2 or 3 of these things at once, because you start to overfit. You're going to get again, that's why we try to do the content this way, show it to you so you get a sense of really how we use it, how it matters. All these different things are going to start to make a little bit more sense. Same thing, you get into the greens and the putting. Well, these are large, Bermuda, and they're fast, or they're slow because it's coastal, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, there's not a lot of sample sizes. So be very, very, very careful with that. But you can see if you scroll up and down, there is just more here than you can possibly imagine. All right, we'll just go driver heavy off the tee. You can see here what matters a lot here. Let's see, decent sample. Let's go back a calendar year, get a little bit bigger. We usually try to keep the show around a half an hour. But again, we did, a little bit more at the top, showing you some of the new stuff. So we're running a little bit longer today. Hope you don't mind. Hope you're just as excited as we are that golf is back. You can see here, strokes gained off the tee with a driver heavy club over the last 12 months would be Johnny Vegas. Sai Thigala, who again made a nice little run here on the weekends last year. Second, Ludwig Xander Finau. Still in the field, didn't go to live. Imagine that. Those guys are at the very, very top. I really like typically looking at ball striking here too, because I think that's a little bit of what we're getting by looking at driver heavy. It's putting us in position basically where these guys can do their job from an approach standpoint too. Connors, Xander, Vegas still, Finau. So basically most of the top 5. Scythe drops down a little bit, obviously punished there from an approach standpoint, but I think these are important to look at. So I'm gonna add off the tee, driver heavy. All right, approach, Ron. What do you want to do from an approach standpoint here?
So yeah, this course is kind of famous for its number of wedges. There's 16% of clubs hit. Wedges hit from the 50 to 100 yard range. So because fairway percentage is so high here, definitely you could look at overall approach proximity, but I think it makes more sense here to do fairway. Now, the advantage of using overall approach is we do have that in the 50-yard buckets instead of 25. So again, you can pick and choose which one you want, but yeah, I'd go, I'd kind of do both 50 to 75 and 75 to 100. If you wanted to do that way, you could also just, if you just want to do one ad, you can do the overall approach for that as well. And then I'm going to go, my main other bucket this week is going to be from 200 plus. So I'll do those. Looks like you'd have to add 3 of them, which, if you want to, just for the sake of time, just do overall approach. It's up to you.
Yeah, what's that?
So
We'll do fairway 50 to 75. I think we can mess around with the weights here. We'll do fairway 75 to 100. It's a wedge fest. And I'm looking the last 2 years to get myself a real big sample size of who's performing here. And to your point, like, we're trying to somewhat in this sense pick a winner for the golf tournament. You're probably going to be needing to do this from the fairway, right? You need to put yourself in a position where you're scoring with your wedges and not just trying to get close from a proximity standpoint. 200 plus, a lot of big ones too, because again, some of these shorter par fours are going to leave you a wedge or less in, and then some longer holes too. Some of these longer par fives and stuff, you're going to leave yourself with a higher amount of longer 200 plus from the fairway. All right, fairway 200 plus. All right, perfect. In general, I don't love the approach buckets. We know this. We talk about it. I use it less than my peers do. I'd rather account for, like, there are instances where you could say, again, this is why the rabbit hole is beautiful, right? Ron and I can come out to the same results by using a different approach. There are instances where you're going to have a higher rate of, say, 50 to 100 yards in. Those courses are often smaller courses. So I will look at approach play on maybe it's less than driver courses or shorter courses, things like that. There are different ways to do it. But again, the ability to do all of it you have here, which is awesome.
Let's just do one more really quick, because I think this one's important. So if you change the view back to just strokes gained, and then let's look at large greens, because these are the largest greens on tour. And so this is one of the way players can separate themselves from the field this week is this is one of the few things we see that is more difficult than normal at an average PGA course is, proximity to the hole in some of these ranges. So, looking at strokes gain approach on large greens, a guy like Morikawa, I think, it's the reason he typically plays very well here is because he can separate on these smaller greens, or these larger greens, I mean.
Yeah, good call out. So the last 2 years, not a huge sample because we don't have a lot that count here, but decent, 60 plus rounds or so for most of these guys. See Hoagie at the top. That makes sense. Finau, Xander, Morikawa, Chris Kirk, your defending champ. Connors, Nick Taylor, Wyndham Clark, Vegas, Zalatoris, kind of right there in the mix. And again, searching on average, you can see kind of where the tiers drops, see if there's any massive edge anywhere, which is, again, really interesting to look at, which is cool. I'm going to add approach large greens. Again, if you're going to ever be double counting or have some overlap, approach I think is the best place to have it. All right, putting scoring. Let's get into that to wrap, because again, around the green, maybe you're scrambling here this week. You were in trouble.
I will say around the green as hitters kind of become longer, more of these guys, there's a bunch of holes here where guys can go for the green, even some par fours. And so around the green play has gradually become more important here over the years.
That makes sense, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're trying to, you're close to the green on a par 5 on your second shot, and maybe you missed by a little. And so there are some holes that it's become more into play, but yeah, like you said, I would include around the green, not we don't need to do it here, but I would include it. It's kind of like off the tee, just small amount. But yeah, approach play and putting especially. So yeah, I think putting, and then we go to Bermuda here. We got Bermuda greens, but yeah. So a key thing with it being a putting contest and all is 42%. If you look back here the last 5 years, winners, 42% of their total strokes gained have come through putting. So just massively important this week to find someone who, I think, there's some names you can kind of check off right off the start. Guys who have struggled, putting. Now, we have a floor ceiling filter that, we probably won't have time to look at today, but a great way to look for spike putting, especially a week like this where it's really going to come into play on such an easy course. But here you can see, we've got, good. Excuse me, we got pretty good sample here, but strokes gained putting I take, and then I think the other one that I would look at strongly is 3-putt avoidance from 25 plus feet. Again, because when you typically see humongous greens like we have this week, you're going to have some longer putts. These greens are tiered in different places, and so 3-putting is, again, one of the only things that players might struggle with this week. So definitely would look at both of those for putting.
Yeah, you can see here Sam Burns, the lowest 3-putt avoidance from 25 plus feet. Xander, Matthew Pavone, Chris Kirk, Sepp Straka, Nico Echeverria playing fantastic golf this fall. Harmon Davis, Riley, Wyndham Clark, Russell Henley. Looking at just strokes gained Bermuda in the field. Small sample for Goddard, but he's up there. Gracerman, Burns, Cole, Dunlap there near the top here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to also add normal putting on a smaller sample. So I'm going to do Bermuda. And again, I that's ingrained in me now. Again, great story. Sounds like a brag, but I talked to Jordan Spieth about this. Just, love saying that, which is really cool. And he was asking him about putting splits, and just obviously the data that we have on our end. Obviously, we're spending so much time doing this, and I think it matters a ton. I think any data set, I would say that in general, in the tails, right, the higher end and lower end performers, I think really matter. I think you can get into some muddy waters in the middle where there could be a little bit of variance here and there. But if you have a really large sample, say Sam Burns putting on Bermuda, I'm going to push back when someone's going to tell me that putting surface and his performance on it isn't really relevant. But what Spieth told me is that he doesn't really care what putting surface he's on, and believes that if he's rolling it well, he's going to do that on Zoysia, he's going to do that on Bermuda, he's going to do that on Pascal. Like, if he's rolling it well, he's rolling it well. And that does make sense to me. But again, if you were kind of doing it in combination, right, we're using a little bit of, and this is where we get into the modeling piece where, say we wanted to give a ton of weight to putting this week. To Ron's point, it matters a lot. So say maybe we give it 20%, which is more than we would typically do it. Maybe we give it 15 Bermuda and 5 putting, right? I want to get a little bit of that in. That's where you can manipulate the data to give you what you want out of it, but you still capture that and bring that into the sample, which I think matters a lot too. So just short term, last 6 months. Maybe we'll back out a little bit because most of these guys haven't been playing 6 months. Just go last 12 months putting, regardless of sample. And again, we'll just mess around with the weights, and that's where you get the modeling piece in here. This is where we're going to get, Denny, still a good putter, right? I don't want to punish Denny's great putting on a place that matters because he didn't pop in Bermuda putting. So we're going to be able to capture that. You can still see here Sam Burns is getting, kudos for that as well. So just overall, last 12 months, strokes gained putting.
And again, we won't have time for this, but we also have slow, the option to look at slow greens as well. And so I think, especially this week where you have to be a little more aggressive, especially with your putting style, on this surface. So that's just another angle you can look at as well.
If you could pick one scoring, and again, I know we could do par 5 birdie or better. We could do, normal birdie rates. What would you do for, one scoring option?
I think kind of sticking with, there's so many fairways that are going to be hit. Let's go birdie or better percentage from the fairway. So it's going to kind of take out some of the noise with, from the rough stuff. So, and yeah, definitely if you're building on your own, definitely throw par 5 scoring in there too. But yeah, I think for this one, I think it's the best one.
Yep. All right. We'll do birdie or better from the fairway. All right. It's enough for today. We'll build another model on Tuesday on the betting show. And again, if you want to see access to Ron's model, you want to get access to, say, Andy Lack's model, Matt Vicenzi, you can see here, you click into this expert tab. If you missed that here, view expert rankings, and you're going to be able to click into anything. It looks like Andy still got a Sanderson Farms model in here for us if you want to go back and look at what Andy was doing there. But again, you can see other people's models, get a sense of what they're doing. Maybe, they added this stat and I wasn't even considering it. Maybe I need to go back. I'm seeing 3 or 4 people added this model or this stats in their model, and I didn't in mine. I need to go back and look at it. I think it's a great access to other people and what they're looking to build here too. And you want to just get the answers to the test, you can get on that as well. But again, another great way for you to do it. Go ahead and click Create Mixed Condition Model. This will be our first look show. Going to give it a name. Sentry. We are back in it. All right, I have some other stuff I was messing around with, but I know we started with Coastal. It's our first one. You can see here it's going to default to figure out 100. We got a lot in here for first, but again, this is our first one of the show. We're excited to be here. Again, I'm going to click Save Expert Report, so you're going to be able to see this one in the search as well. Just going to mess around with, got a lot. Anything that you want to make the case for that we need to be heavier than normal? Putting, I think you want to make a case for.
Yeah, putting for sure. Yeah, I'd bump up some of the approach categories too.
Okay.
But yeah, it doesn't need to be anything too fancy for today.
Yeah, so we got 3 putting things here. We're going to do, if we give putting in general 20 weight, I think that's a pretty good amount comparatively. Unless you want to give it more, let's go 25. I'll mix these up a little bit. No, well, let's give it. We're going to give putting a lot because I think you sold me on that. Typically, I'm not giving putting anywhere near this. Maybe 5, maybe 10. But we need to get into the 30s. We need people to score. Birdie or better from the fairway. Again, we need scoring. We're going to jump up on approach stuff. Let's give this a bigger one. Our wedge fast. Let's go 10, 10, 10 here. Approach on large greens. We'll do this. Driver heavy, you want to go back down a little bit. I think strong fields will drop down a little bit. Coastal, where are we at? I get this a little bit more. We'll go 7.5. I think you got another one of those ready for us. All right, we're at 100. Again, for the sake of time, I'm going to spit this out this way. I would give a lot more thought to the model that I build. I know Ron will as well, but I think this is going to give us a decent sample. I'm capturing pretty good amount in terms of like approach here. These are 40 birdie or better from the fairway kind of as approach and putting. So that's 50. Really, I'm giving about 70, 75% here on approach and putting, which I think matters a lot. We'll save and generate. You can see what we get here at the very top. I think it's going to be Xander Schauffele, just going out on a limb, Ron. Really cool feature here too. We can download it to a CSV and get a sample of Wyndham Clark at the top of the model. Xander Schauffele second, Ludwig third, Colin fourth, Grayson fifth. Good for Grayson. 6 for Cole. Pendrith seventh. I have a hard time clicking on Pendrith after the President's Cup. JT Poston 8, Adam Scott 9, Russell Henley 10. Very, very interesting to see the very top of the model.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense with Wyndham. He's kind of excels in a lot of these areas. So,
He does. Yeah, great putter. Obviously he hits the mile, can benefit from, having a little bit more freedom off the tee to do so. Good wedge player. I'm not super surprised that he's top 5 for sure. A little surprised that he bumps Xander. You can see Xander maybe short wedges is where we're seeing some of the bigger numbers on Xander here. 50 to 75, 75 to 100, where, Wyndham thrives a little bit. Xander in the fields, relative to the field, a little bit more average. Both great putters. I'm surprised to see or not see Justin Thomas up here. Just a great short wedge player. Probably putting, getting stuck in there a little bit in the mud. He's a little bit further down, just a lot further down, 41 in the model. Obviously not been a great 18 months or so for Justin Thomas. You can see putting overall is kind of crushing him here. So,
and we didn't add course history either, which you can also add.
Sure.
To your own models.
Yep. And again, see the bottom of the model here. Molnati, Campos, Bryce Garnett, Will Zalatoris. Interesting to see here down at the model. This is what I want to show you too real quick. I'm not sure if this is going to work with the way that my tabs are sharing. Let's see if I can share this custom report. I don't know if it's going to share. Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't want to share because it goes into a CSV, which is different. But yeah, you can click the CSV and it gives you the total number. You can see the gap between Wyndham and Sanders is pretty small. Ludwig kind of third, and then it drops down a pretty good amount down to Colin. So you can click in the CSV model and get that actual understanding of where the gap is in there as well, which is, I think, relevant to see. So awesome. Ron, appreciate all your hard work this offseason, man, and it's been very clear to see here today in short order of where we are with this rabbit hole, where it continues to be. Anything else for the folks? Parting words as we take off.
No, yeah, just excited to get back into it, and look forward to a great year. And we will keep adding. That's something. I'm not going to name any other sites, but we're not going to wait for 3 years and then add stuff. We're gonna and we welcome feedback. If you've got something that you want us to add, like you got an idea, hey, pass it along. I promise you, we will look into it and we will add it if we can.
No days off. Yep, continue to add within our tech deliverables could be. We will make sure we add it if we think it's a relevant addition. So feedback is appreciated. For subscribers, get in the Discord. Be looking for some outright bet picks coming your way shortly. Again, if you're watching this for the first time or you've been watching this but not subscribing, rebet deal, guys. It goes away on the 31st. This is a 2024 deal. It's about to expire. Again, you think you're in a jail state and you can't bet on sports in California or Texas or Florida without using Hard Rock or offshores or who knows? It's not true. Sweepstakes apps are available to you, and Rebet is one of them, a partner of ours. Download Rebet, promo code BSG when you download. Minimum $10 spend, and 48 hours later, you'll get an email telling you how to access the site. And that's it. No loopholes. Give it time. Wait for your email. It takes 48 hours for them to show that you populate, for us to get the report and us to get that information over to you. A lot of people will do this on a Wednesday. I want access to it today. We can't do that. It's outside the scope of what we can do. But take advantage of this, guys. It is going away again, 2024. So you only have 2 more days to get access to it. Questions, again, let us know. We'll help you out. So appreciate you hanging out with us. Again, you want to get access to the model we just built, find a way to add it to yours. Click on that expert view in the rabbit hole, and you can take a look at it, dissect it there. So for Ron, I'm Ryan. We'll see you all tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, on the Betsperts Golf YouTube channel for our betting preview show. Appreciate your time. We'll see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.